Welcome to another episode of Lighting Bot. Today we have Anna joining us from, I think she used to work at Ubisoft and she currently works at Shapefarm. Hopefully we can dig into her brain today. But just a reminder for new people, Lighting Bot is a lighting community for people who are interested in lighting. That includes VFX, concept artists, photographers, and so on. We have free courses on YouTube. We have free resources on Discord. We also have a paid mentorship for anyone who needs specific mentorship. So let's focus on Anna today and find out what amazing things she has in her brain. So let's welcome Anna. Hey.
Hello, thank you very much for having me here. My name is BELÉN HERNÁNDEZ and I'm a senior lighting artist.
Nice, that's very cool. So sometimes we will get questions during the stream because sometimes I let them ask questions. So you'll see them pop on the screen at the bottom. I forgot to show you, and I'll read it out for you. And
Okay.
all you have to do is try and answer them or not. It's up to you.
Okay.
So Anna, you obviously have a background like everyone else. Can you tell us briefly about your educational and career journey into becoming a lighting artist? What happened on the way?
Yes, so I started studying architecture. I got graduated and I decided that I wanted to learn more about 3D and especially about rendering in real time because I found it super interesting and fascinating. So, and I was a bit of freak of video games. So for me, it was like the perfect solution to start studying art for games. Then I thought that I wanted to be an environment artist. Then I just started working on lighting and FX. I just fell in love. One of my teachers showed me the path for becoming a lighting artist. And I thought that was my thing. So I decided to go that way and to work my portfolio into that direction.
Okay. So for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, because that can happen, people come in and what are you talking about? So what is your role as a lighting artist according to you? What is your average day right now as a lighting artist, and how is it in comparison to when you were at Ubisoft? Is it different? Is it the same?
Okay, so now I'm a bit, I'm a lighting artist and FX artist kind of as well. So my tasks right now is they are covering many different things. As a lighting artist, I work on the general lighting for the games, like based on time of the day changing or weather change. Also in specific locations, in interiors, also exteriors, because since now I'm on a smaller studio or a smaller company, I have more responsibilities. So I kind of have to cover a bit of everything and also some effects attached to the environment as well. So a bit of everything.
So you said FX, because that's always fascinating for me to hear that. Is it because you're in a smaller studio that they gave you extra responsibility to do FX? If so, is it an advantage that a lighting artist should be a little bit good at FX, or is it not necessary?
It's not necessary, but for me, it is an advantage. I am really interested in effects. I was when I started studying, and there are some effects that are very necessary for a lighting artist. You don't need to be an FX artist, but there are some that you should know as a lighting artist. Like for example, you should know how to create fog because it's going to be super necessary on a lighting artist job, and it's going to give depth to your scenes and so on. So there are some that are necessary. Then some other extra effects.
Learn FX, okay. Okay, what else? Okay. Amit is apparently not good enough, so I will do that. Okay.
I mean, yeah, you don't need to become an FX artist. You just need to know the ones that are gonna help you to bring your scene to another level. Those that are gonna make your scene to feel alive.
So smoke. How about smoke and what else? Water, fire, rain.
Yeah, rain, dust. Dust is super necessary as well. Maybe snow.
You're not making my homework much easier, are you? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, smoke, rain, and dust. And in case someone thinks I'm joking, I'm not. I am, in fact, writing it down at the bottom. You can't see it because of the white clipping, but well, I'm a bad lighting artist because I didn't do anything about the white clipping. Sorry, guys. I see we have people watching. If you have any question yourself, be happy to ask. We love questions that I don't have to think about and you can think about. Makes my life easier and it makes this more interesting. Okay, so VFX is a good thing to learn. So that would mean you have a higher chance of getting some jobs if you are able to show that?
Wait.
Is it a higher chance of getting a job offer if you stand out with some VFX background?
You know that FX artists are very in demand and they are pretty hard to find. So if you have FX experience, you are going to find a job very easily.
That is true.
They are like unicorns, like they are very much in need.
I agree with that, and the reason I can say I agree with that is because at Interior Nights, I think we spent a couple of months looking for a VFX artist after our other VFX artists left. So yeah, I guess that's true. So, but do you think it's an advantage? Okay, let's make this a bit complicated, but also easy. So a person learns lighting. What is the second skill? Would you say it's VFX or materials? Now she's gonna say all three.
Okay, I will make a list and I will say, and this is my experience and my own point of view, but I will say lighting artists, FX artists, and then materials.
In that order?
Yes.
Okay, everyone, did you hear what Anna said? She said lighting artists, VFX, and materials.
That is my own opinion.
It's her own opinion.
Based on my experience, because I do like to have control over my FX because I like to make them fit in my scenes, know, and materials, yes, I like to tweak them a bit, but okay, there are maybe like this, but
they cross over a bit, no? Because if you do VFX, you have to know a little bit about material, right?
Yes, of course.
So maybe that's a good starting point to learn. You can learn VFX, but while learning VFX, you learn a little bit about materials. So
yeah, you are gonna learn materials for sure while doing FX. So yeah, I guess they're like the three of them are combined there.
Guys, I'm just gonna quit my career and let other people join them. I mean, that's way too much. I'm too old for that. I'm learning painting though. Does that count for anything?
Yeah, that's very cool.
That counts for something, guys. Oof, I'm so lucky. I'm learning something useful. Okay, so I mean, because VFX and you have that lighting as well. Would you recommend any other things for anyone improving or learning as a lighting artist? I mean, we were talking about Peter Tran, for example. He is pretty good at composition because a lot of the stuff he talks about is not just, it's actually less about lighting but more about composition and framing and those skills if you pay attention to what he's passing on. Is that a useful skill, would you say, to master? Because that's a different thing also altogether.
I think that is super necessary. I mean, having a bit of background in environment and composition is going to be super helpful for lighting because you're going to learn about space, and lighting is basically you need to know space and how the relation between the space and light, so you can understand about composition and you can make your lighting more appealing. And I think that that's why I got not so easily, but I kind of start learning lighting more easily because I had an architecture background. So since I understand about space and 3D, and back in architecture, I was already quite interested into the relation between the space and the light. I think that is essential for a lighting artist to make a proper work.
I think a lot of people struggle with learning all of these extra things, especially when
Mm-hmm.
you talk about architecture, compositing, because a lot of the information out there, which is why I'm hoping lighting but will make people's life easier, is it's very difficult and hard to understand and boring. The existing content, you need to really
Mm-hmm.
understand it to then understand how to put it into practice in your context, right?
Yes.
So I think we have covered some of the topics that everyone should pick up and learn. Um, and my list went from just lighting to VFX to lighting to VFX to compositing to spacing. I mean, guys, this is a long journey, right? So it never stops. There's always going to be something new to learn. But I noticed that a lot because I'm not very technical. I'm very artistic when I do my
Mm-hmm.
lighting, and I noticed a lot of people they are more technical. They know how to do VFX. They know how to code. They know too much technical stuff. So I definitely need to pick up with that. So that's good advice, I think, to learn these things definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But you have also your advice comes a little bit also because you have been doing some instruction at CGMA as well, right?
Yes, yes. It
So
is.
what's your experience there? What are the students like? What have you learned?
I think it was a learning experience for them and for me. You have mentioned that we have to keep learning and learning all the time. This is an industry that is changing constantly, and you need to adapt. And in that matter, the academy has helped me to keep open to learning and to help help the students to learn about things and to keep me attached to the news updates and to the new techniques. So I think it is a pretty interesting experience, and it's learning for both ways, like for them and for me, and things that I gave for granted, like things that are quite obvious for me, or I thought that they were like this, then I realized that it's not like this for everybody. So you learn to see how people think, how they face different scenes, and you learn to transmit what is your way of thinking, how they can improve, how they can learn about new stuff and so on. But I always try to keep it. Um, I always try to give them feedback based on what they want to do and what they want to get and how they can get a result that is closer to their reference and things like that, rather than saying how I will do that. More trying to guide them to get closer results to what they want to get.
Okay, cool. The thing with feedback is, do you think it's very subjective and personal when you get feedback? Because we did at Lighting, but we sometimes do it, but we have three people doing it. So, and then it's never the same feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can be confusing for people because I remember when I was moving from production and level design over to lighting, and I went to different Discord at the time as well, like most people do when they're learning. I got really easily confused with the different feedback, and I ended up making worse worse work than better work because I didn't know what was right and wrong. What's your thought process on that? Have you experienced that? Is that something new to you, or?
I have experienced many times that I have received feedback and from different parts, and they are contradictory. Like someone says something, the other person says something completely opposite, and it's quite hard to get to make that work. It's like I had to try to find a balance between feedback that were opposite to each other. So Yeah, I think it's quite subjective, but there are half and half, because there are some stuff that are some kind of art, there are artistic rules, and those rules are there forever, let's say, and no matter who is giving you feedback is gonna agree on some stuff. Then the rest is what you feel with your artistic background, with your taste, with the way you have to see things. So is half and half, I will say. But then when you receive, like when you're in a real production and you receive one feedback from one director and another feedback from another, you just need to find the balance and figure out what they want, but they don't say, and
Yeah,
try to
yeah.
make it work.
So this is Anna's lecture now. What would you say are the key things that is fundamental to lighting? So if someone gives that feedback, they should listen to it because it's not really subjective. It's just basic things that you should fix. Do you have any idea based on your experience that you think, okay, if I say it and you say it, or someone else says it, they say it because it's the fundamental thing that you should be listening to? Because you said that in the beginning, there are some key things.
Yes. For example, for me, is contrast is very important. When someone tells you, "Hey, this scene looks a bit flat," uh, for me that is essential. Like everybody will agree. Like if it is flat, it's flat. If I cannot read the volumes, the shapes, the scene, I can't read them. We need to do something to improve that kind, to balance the values of the lighting in that scene. Then color palette. I mean, color is more subjective, but there are some kind of rules. And I invite everyone out there to pay attention to color palette, because it's super important, and is what is going to make your scene to feel. It's going to make your scene appealing or not. So it's very important also to pay attention to that. Then if someone tells you this is too bright, this is too dark, that can vary depending if it's coming from a game designer, is always level designer is always going to be, this is too dark. I cannot see anything. So but jokes aside, I think that
True.
there are a few keys that
No, it's true. The last thing is that it's true, and it's funny because I was talking to one of the lighting artists of Halo Infinite last week,
mhm.
and he was also talking about, because it's a level design game, right? It's multiplayer, so he was also saying that no, the level designer says it's too dark, brighten it up,
Yes.
and you as a lighting artist know, no, it's not a good idea because it doesn't look good. It doesn't even show the shape and form. But how do you feel about that? Because I'm very particular when I give feedback when it comes to darkness. Is, are you trying to mimic real light? Then I will often say it is too dark. It's actually brighter in real life. Even right now, there's only, if I turn off this light, for example, right? Whatever, but it's still very bright. There are curtains, but it brightens up the whole room. So, do you give feedback based on realism, or do you try and give feedback on realism and then figure out they're trying to be artistic? Because that's something that confuses people a lot, is what feedback is relevant for the person, right?
If I will give realistic feedback, I will do it for an architectural visualization. Then there I will say you have to go 100% realistic. But in games, we don't need to be, depend on the game, okay? But most of the games, like, we don't need to be 100% realistic, but we need to be believable. We have this range, this space to give our own artistic representation, because more important than realism is to make things look good, and to work on the artistic point of view of the game. So I think, and that's why I wanted to work on video games more than in 3D, in architectural 3Ds, because I have more freedom for the artistic part in a video game, because I can do more things that are allowed in architecture, for example.
Okay, so if it's more creative and more artistic in video games, how do you handle that when you do your lighting? Because when you're in the software and you're trying to adjust the numbers and everything, do you purposely configure it to be less realistic or less PBR sometimes, or do you still follow PBR and then do something else on top afterwards? How's your workflow for that?
No, I respect PBR. I don't mess with it. It's usually depend on the game. Most of the games that I have worked on follow it, or I want to achieve that more realistic look. Uh, but then you have like this artistic part on top of it. So I will say that I try to get to the realism as much as I can, and then I take another way a bit to the side just to give a twist and to make it more interesting. But it's like the the end when I just try to give the last touch. Um,
So let's talk about your workflow then. Do you want to talk about your workflow at Ubisoft or where you're now or your personal workflow? Is there any difference? I don't know.
um, well, my workflow, basically, okay, I think I can, mm,
If you wanna,
I
if
make
you
it fit.
if you wanna share your screen and do some paint over or whatever, that you can do that too. It's no problem.
Uh, uh, I don't have the tablet connected,
No
sorry.
problem. I have
But
all the facilities for you.
I'm gonna explain a bit. And this is how I approach my thoughts, my thoughts when I started working on a scene, because I think that this is something that I learned when I was an architecture. I learned how to make a project, and for that, the first thing that I needed is to learn and know about the context, the location, the situation, the users. How are they going to interact with the project? How are they going to live it? So I think that, lucky for me, all the stuff that I learned there is the ones that I apply now every day when I work. So, and I think that is the same process that I had when I was working in Valhalla, and the same process that I have been using in every project. So my first, when I start working on a scene, the first thing I do is to talk a lot with level designers and the level artists, because I want to know the story behind what I want to explain the players, what's the experience that they want to create there, what's the mood, what's the feeling. Then artists love to introduce little micro stories hidden inside of the scene. So I like to support them with some cute lighting there, um, because I think the lighting is super important to tell a story. That's why cinematography is also very helpful, as taken as reference, and we learn a lot from them. Um, so once I know a bit more of the background of everything on the scene, then I try to create a lighting that is according to that, where the players have to feel some specific way. They have to focus the attention on some specific point, um, and how, what is the gameplay going to be there? If is it a fighting area? Is If it is going to be a fighting area, I know that it is a location that has to be brighter, because they need to see the enemies, and this is quite important. Try to avoid always pitch black areas, because the player can get lost, and we don't want that. I always try to support gameplay and level artists with the lighting that I create. Even though there are some times where I would like to do something else because it will be more pretty, or it will be more beautiful, we always have to keep in mind that we are working on games. Gameplay is what we need to really complement with our lighting. We need to make it easy to play, and always following the art direction of the game. Like for example, when I was working in the division, there were different factions for to fight, and each one was represented with different colors. So I knew that there were some colors that I could use with one faction, and there were others that I could use with another one. But I cannot use the same ones for them because it can get confusing for the player. So we always need to keep in mind that we need to help the player.
Yeah, I did the same for Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I had a safe color for interior areas where you could hide, and then color when you couldn't hide. So I mean that
Mhm.
makes sense for sure. So you have all of these different techniques and processes. How did you pick them up? Like, where did you learn all of this?
I think I have been learning from here and there. Uh, I, as I mentioned already many times here, I learn a lot from architecture, and everything I learned there is what made me be the lighting artist that I am today. But
So everyone, you should just go study architecture. Just go do that, and then come back later.
no, no, you don't need to study architecture. But personally, on my case, it was very, very helpful for me because I came with a knowledge on the background that helped me a lot. Then when I started studying art for games, I did this generalist artist. I learned a bit of everything, including concept to the concept characters. Even though I'm terrible at characters, like no way I'm gonna work on that ever. I will be hungry if I try to work as a character artist.
Same. Out of work, I would be poor, broke.
Yeah, yeah. And but I did study a bit of everything, even animation, and that helped me a lot. Not to work about that, but knowing how this works, how this needs to be done, and that helped me a lot to when I'm working on my stuff. Like I can imagine, like if I start working on something, how's this going to affect the environment artist? How is this going to affect the character artist? Was the process, the mental process that they follow when they are working to create this. I think that was very interesting because it gives me their point of view when they are
Okay.
working. And since we work on teams and big teams, it's good that you can put yourself in somebody else's place. And when you do a change at your work and you know that your work is going to have an impact on somebody else's work, uh, you can you can know that you're gonna have a consequence, production consequences.
It's interesting because you just mentioned team. So let's go into that topic a little bit. What's your point of view when it comes to team communication and soft skills? Is that very important, or do you feel a lot of people, especially the students you meet, because when you're an instructor or a mentor, you notice different skill level, even on text,
Mhm.
with different students. Do you feel people aren't spending enough time learning how to communicate, how to give critique, how to receive feedback, how to give feedback, how to approach, how to negotiate? Like, um, there are often my cases where I have a specific vision which is opposite of what maybe the concept art is, or maybe even what the art director, and I have to find a way to convey it efficiently. So what are your thoughts about these human skills when it comes to a very technical artistic role that we do have?
I think that when we are students, we don't pay attention to that much, and we should because for creating games and work on a team, you need those communication skills because communication is essential. And I'm going to repeat this, and I keep repeating this to my students all the time. Communication is essential because when there is broken communication, all the issues that can happen in a production are going to happen. Last minute changes, things that weren't planned properly suddenly are popping out. Um, all the issues that you can find are going to happen if you don't communicate properly. For example, many people think that lighting is something that is only coming at the very end of the production, and I think that's a mistake.
Yes, I was talking about that at work actually this week. I was
Yes,
like, it's not true. Keep going.
it's not true at all. Lighting has to come at the beginning with the design, because first we are still quite technically limited, and things needs to be built in one way or another depending on the lighting and how it is going to work and what we want with the lighting. So for me, when planning, when level design, lighting is also something that needs to be planned in advance and needs to be tested and needs to be worked on.
That's very interesting. Let's talk a little bit about that then, because that's something I haven't talked about with anyone, and it's interesting to me as well because I'm having this dialogue at work as well. So, how would you suggest to approach defining this type of pipeline? Because I've had this issue a lot over the years where everyone says, "Yeah, we don't really need lighting artists before the end." And what is your suggestion to approach? Because you kind of briefly were talking about it like in the beginning, but how and what are your thoughts on telling or planning this process?
Okay, for me, first you need to fail to know that something is not working at the end. Then how are we gonna fix it? Then you learn that, oh, we should have planned this before. So that's the first thing, and that's the way I learned this. Then for me, at the very beginning of the game, in general game, you need to know if you want time of the day changing or not, because you need to know, you need to create a system for that. So at the very beginning, you already need to know with what type of lighting you are going to work. That is in general terms. But then about specific locations, more level design stuff, or for example, imagine that you are building an underground or a subway or something like that. Because I just mentioned, because my students are working now on this
Yeah.
dark interior, and they were having some leaks. So first, you need to know that you need uh, thick. You need your walls, your ceiling to be thick enough to block that lighting. If you build a scene that is not where you're gonna have the sun on the outside, and in the for that interior you have very thin walls, you're gonna have issues for sure. But if you want to do fancy stuff, now the I have a cave and it's rotating this way and then this way, and then I have ending having two rooms that maybe one is up or the other one is down, but there is no separation enough for them. Then some light is gonna pass from one or another, or maybe I want this entrance of light here, but I don't plan it. So now how I do that entrance of light, I need to fake it somehow. I need to fake a hole there to add a light that is going to be inside, but there is no hole. I need to create it. I need to plan it. I need to create a shader to fake the hole, then the effects, then the light itself. So for me, it has to be planned with the level design when you are designing that space and what you want in that space. And the important things inside that need to be highlighted and how we are going to highlight them.
And let's take a question, at least one question before we forget. So Praveen Raji asked, hello, I work in TV series where we get lighting approval for individual shots from supervisor, but how does this approval works in game? How one decide, does this look good? Let's go, next set, level. So he's basically, Praveen is basically asking, how is our approval in our game? Who decides? And because in the beginning you were talking about two people, some people have one art director, but in your case, what's your approval process?
I think that the biggest approval is time. when when deadline times is approved, it has to go ship ship it. Okay, but usually you have in games you have the art director who is going to give you feedback on how the lighting should work. what is working according to the art of the game and so on. Then you have the game director who is going to tell you if it works for the gameplay or not and for the game. And maybe that role is not going to come to give you feedback so often, but they are going to come to give you feedback when they play the game, when they test it. If something is not correct, something is not is not visible enough, they will also come and tell you that. So in video games, I think that everybody can give you feedback. Like everybody comes and gives you feedback. The level designer can also come and say, "Hey, this doesn't work. Can you change it? Can you do it this way?" Also, the artist, your lead, the art director. So at some point, you end having feedback like all over the place. You need to pick the one that is going to help the scene the most, the game the most, and try to find this balance from here and here, and take in consideration the one that you think is going to be more helpful.
And in your case, Anna, is it you who decide the lighting is done, or is it the art director that has to verify, okay, it's done, or it's as it should be?
If the art director has time, it's going to be the art director. But if art director doesn't have time, sometimes it can be decided inside the lighting team. Like lighting team thinks it's okay, it's okay.
That's interesting. I mean, I'm a bit lucky where my art director he makes time. So he will paint over my images and let's do like this, and I can copy it within maybe 2 hours or whatever, and then it's done. So I'm kind of happy with that process where, but he needs to approve everything. So he looks at everything. He said, okay, that's good, approved, that's good, that's approved, that's good. So obviously it depends on the studio, obviously, Praveen, but generally speaking, I think a lot of the trust is put on the lighting artist to kind of know what they're doing, and then
Yeah.
if you did a good job, you should be approved. If you didn't, it doesn't mean you didn't do a good job. It just means maybe the concept art wasn't clear. Maybe there's the what's this called? The initial idea of the scene wasn't good enough. I mean, this, as she said in the beginning, communication. That's why she communicates early on to collect information. Right? That's kind of
Yes, exactly. That's why I like to have all the information in advance. Many times I don't have concepts to work with, so I have to base to create an idea from all the words from one place and another. So I collect that information because of that. I collect all the references I can to create that imaginarium, that picture in my mind to start working, because and in on big companies where we are working on large games, it's pretty hard to have concepts for everything, or the art director to come and do an overpaint on your at the beginning of the production is easier because there are less stuff, but at the end of the production is like, if I'm not telling you anything, it's okay, we go with this. If I don't come and you don't see me, it's because this is a proof. I will
so.
only
Sorry.
sorry
Yes.
sorry
No. Keep
no,
going.
no, they will also come and tell you, hey, this isn't working, you need to change it.
Yeah.
If they don't say anything, it's good.
Yeah, that's good. So let's talk a little bit about reference and mood. How's your approach to gathering the reference and deciding a mood? Because mood is it can be very cultural. It can be very specific to a person as well. Even though we learn very early, this is this mood, this is this mood. There are plenty of people who do completely different and try something completely different to create the mood. So, what's your referencing and mood technique and workflow to for this process?
First, I ask for the reference that artists are using, the level artists are using. Then I try to look something, some lighting reference that can complement those reference that the artist is already following. Then I use a quite cool website called ShopDeck. It's pretty cool, where you have reference of about all the movies in the world. Super good filter to find, like, you can get crazy in that website because it's like a playground for lighting artists. So I use that. I try to find a lot of references from movies because they already use lighting as a language, to transmit a mood, to transmit that feeling. So I think that there are so many references in there that we can learn from, that I usually work with that. Sometimes I also use video games on their own, because they're for similar situations and things like that. But mainly, I think I use a movie reference for my mood.
And for anyone watching, especially if you're already in lighting boot and you hear a lot about white clipping, my background is a good example of poor lighting, and Anna's background is a good example of good lighting. Bad, good.
Yeah.
All right, that's a quick information for you guys. Quick education on difference of lighting going on here. So I think I also want to cover, before it's too late, about women in games and women in education, because a lot of people don't know if it's good, it's bad, is it challenging, do you work harder because it's a kind of a feeling that it's a boys' club? I would love to hear your journey and opinion about that.
I think it's something that we are all learning still, and there are many things need to be changed. There, there are many things that needs to be changed. I'm pretty sure you have heard about some pretty bad news about things happening inside the industry.
Oh yeah,
But
very extreme. No, that's very extreme.
yeah, but lucky for me, I haven't had any of those experience. I don't feel that I had to work extra hard because I am a woman. I think that I was lucky, the team that I was working on, because they totally respect my work and and me as a person. Not if I am a man or a woman. It's just me as a person and the work I do. That's it. Then it's true that I heard rumors on the back, like, oh, she's getting this recognition because she's a woman. If I was a man, I wouldn't be so recognized. It's like this opposite, like, because women need to be more visualized. We're gonna use the figure of a woman to show this, but I think it's not. I mean, I don't think it's true. I don't want to believe it's true. I think it's the effort, the hard work, and that the industry is changing, and they don't pay attention if it's a woman or a guy. It's just hard work and results.
Yeah, so the reason Anna gets the recognition is because she studied architecture in the beginning, so she has an
Yeah.
upper hand.
Exactly.
Fact. But I mean, it's good that you haven't had any major issues. But I think, how is your approach to male colleagues? Because I also have heard stories where a lot of male colleagues are hesitant to interact with female colleagues because of all of these allegations and accusations and true, false. People are getting a bit, careful around female colleagues. Have you noticed this or no?
I haven't noticed it. At least on my experience, they treat me equally. They talk to me normally. Uh, Maybe on parties, things get a bit more crazy when you're outside of work, and with alcohol, things can get out of hands. But like normal parties, I think it's a general mindset, not things on the industry. But in my experience, I haven't noticed any issue on colleagues talking to me because I am a woman.
That's good. So during parties, the professionalism just drops a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
I think so, yeah. But I mean, with alcohol, everybody changed.
That's why you don't drink at work. You don't drink at work parties. You just stay sober, you have a good time, and you go home.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the safest bet. All right. So we have actually gone through more than I thought. So, what is your favorite artist or inspiration? It can be traditional or digital. Do you have any? Because this question I hate. I have this question even when I had this job interview for this work when I joined, and I was honest. I have no idea. I don't even remember who I look up to. It's a very specific to when I'm working. I will try and find someone or something to use as inspiration, but I never have a good answer. So I'm gonna put you in the spot and ask you, who's your favorite artist?
Awesome, thank you. I'm very interested into Liam Wong. You know, he got a book coming out recently, and I found his work fascinating. Also because now I'm really in this type of photography, night, neon lights stuff. I do also follow a lot of photography called Noe Alonso. I think he's also pretty amazing, good artist. I think those are my main now.
LiamWong.com, guys. His name is mentioned very often. I think he has one of his book on Art Station. I'm not sure, but you can buy his book on LiamWong.com.
Mhm.
Also, he's a common. There's another one a lot of people mention, which is this Swedish artist. He has a Tales of the Loop is his TV show on Amazon Prime. See, I know who I'm talking about, but that's why I don't like this question. I have information, but I don't have the damn name.
I am terrible at names as well. I mean, I know I follow a lot of people and a lot of artists, but I'm just terrible at names.
No,
I get you.
I mean, you actually have four names, no?
I do have four names.
Yeah, imagine someone trying to remember you. That's even harder.
Yeah, yeah, I know. That's Spanish fault.
Okay,
I blame
so
my parents for that.
well, it's good with four names. It's you can pick and choose whenever you want to, right?
Yeah, today you can call me Anna. Tomorrow you can call me Belén. Well,
Yeah.
whatever you want is fine.
What is your last name though? Is it Hernandez or is it something else?
Well, my last name is Tornero, which I didn't wrote,
Oh,
but the previous one is Hernandez. Yeah.
okay, cool. That's because it's like mom, dad's last name, or how
Yeah.
does that work in your culture?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
Hernandez is my father's last name, and Tornero is my mother's last name.
cool. And then then it just keeps growing, guys. It's then the grandfather, grandmother. It just takes a year to say someone's name.
No, here is just these two. Then my parents choose to add another extra one,
Okay.
and Anna wasn't enough, so Anna Belén.
So, do you want to mention just briefly Shapefarm? Like, what are you doing there? What have they done before? Just so we can talk a little bit about Shapefarm too, because I don't
Yeah,
know if everyone knows.
where it's a smaller studio compared to Ubisoft. I like it because I have all this amount of new work to do, a lot of new things to learn. They are super cool people, and this type of artist then can do a bit of everything, and they're those careful people that are good at everything. And we're working on some games that I cannot talk about. And they are based in Japan, in Tokyo, and some of us we are just around the world. For example, I'm working from Valencia, Spain, but some of us are working from Europe, some others from USA, a bit of everything, everywhere. It's
So
very cool.
Shapefarm has also done co-production, which means they were outsourcing, and they did Devil's Third, Overkill's The Walking Dead, Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Strikers. If you're a Naruto fan, which obviously everyone is, that's a good game to play. And they have a co-production, which I think is still going on, which is called Vane. This is a It doesn't say much. I think this is the PlayStation 4 game probably. So they are working on some cool titles and cool projects. Of course, we don't get to know what Anna's working on, but maybe when she's done, she can come back and tell us more about it, right?
Yeah, sure.
So, what would you say? What is your number? If you could pick three things for a lighting artist to give them advice on anything, like that you think is important for a lighting artist, what would that be?
Okay, first thing, a portfolio. Portfolio is super important because it's what is going to talk on your behalf. It's going to say what is going to show your skills, and is what recruiters and our directors are going to look at. So it's very important to have the maximum quality that you can get on your portfolio. One of the advice that I give to my students, usually when they're creating them, is to always have all the good top quality things. Don't It's better less quantity but more quality on it, rather than having a lot of scenes, a lot of shots that are not that high quality, that they can make recruiters think like, what's this? So it's better, but always better, less quantity but more quality.
Okay, that is,
Um,
that is hard to do though. How does someone know that?
yeah, that how do you know that? Asking
That
for feedback.
yeah, that's why feedback is important. We'll try and
Yes.
cover that again a bit later. So, what's the second thing you would say?
Uh, I guess that having an artistic background or knowledge that can support your lighting, knowing about color theory, um, composition.
Okay, goodbye. Goodbye. Then I'm going this way.
Okay, not so much of
I just kidding.
basic knowledge, basic artistic knowledge, traditional art, maybe the basic, just the basis.
Yeah, just pick up painting like I did. This will help you guys.
Yeah, just a few of general knowledge on that.
Okay.
And third one, ask for feedback as much as you
Hmm.
can. For example, because I live with my brother, I ask him all the time, "Hey, what do you think about this?" But only about the things that I can show him, not about the secret ones. But when I'm
Disclaimer.
working, when I'm working on something on my own, or something personal, I just go and ask him, even if he doesn't have any artistic background or anything. He has an eye, and he knows, and he has a taste. So every opinion is helpful, and you need to listen, and you need to know what you can choose as a value feedback and opinion, and then you can just discard the ones that you don't think are going to be helpful, but it's good to
So,
listen.
so let's talk about feedback because I always forget to talk about it on every stream. So this time I'm gonna remember to do it before we finish. Is the value of feedback? Like a lot of people are afraid of asking for feedback because they are naturally not feeling that it's worth showing. A lot of people they ask for feedback, but they maybe not handle the feedback very well. Um, what is your tips and advice around feedback? Why is it important to ask for feedback, and how do you handle the feedback?
Okay, first thing you need to know is that feedback is not personal. It's not a direct attack to you personally. So you need to, and I know that for artists this is very hard to do, but you need to detach the person from the work you do as an artist. The moment that you understand that you are not your scene, and that the moment that you receive critiques on that scene, they are not attacking to you. They are not saying that you are a bad artist, or yet they are not saying that this is not working, so you shouldn't work on this. No, that is when we give feedback, or when we receive feedback, it's about something very specific. This is working. This is not working. This could be improved. This is working, but we can polish it a bit more, we can push it a bit further, but it's never personal. And I think that's why people take it so bad, because they take it as they take it personally, and I think that that's where the main mistake is. And I know it's pretty hard, but we need to detach from what we do. That's the first thing. And the second one is that if you want to improve as an artist, you need to constantly ask for feedback. Even if you don't think it's ready or is worth it to show, because you know that something is not working, once you ask for feedback, you might find what isn't working. You might improve what you, maybe I'm stuck with something, I don't know how to fix it. For example, I did this a lot with my lead. I go to him like, hey, I know this is wrong, I know this isn't working, but I don't know how to fix it. What is what I'm not seeing here, but you, maybe you can see, because we get so inside and so deep in the scenes that we work, that we lose the general point of view, and sometimes we need to go outside to have a different view, and that's when feedback is so helpful.
Yeah. Easy. Just go study architecture like Anna. Problem solved. That's my feedback from now on. What's the problem? Just go study architecture like Anna. Problem solved. What's the problem?
No. As someone who studied architecture, I can tell you that that doesn't solve all my problems. So it's not a solution.
Okay. Fine.
It can be helpful though.
It can definitely help. And I think architecture is probably good for level designers too, actually.
Yeah.
And they definitely need it. So we have time for one more question. In regards to feedback, I think is a lot of people, when they receive feedback, they will defend it a lot. Like, say, I spent 1 month on it, I've already done the iteration, or someone else said it was great, therefore your feedback is invalid. Do you have any thoughts about that kind of reaction to feedback?
I think that reaction is a defend. You are defending your work and your art. Sometimes it can be correct, because there might be some information like, hey, I did this because of this, and that's why it's done this way. But if you explain it because there was a reason behind, but if your reaction is to say, no, someone said that it was okay, or I have spent a month working on it, that is not actual justification for what you did. So it's just a defensive reaction to protect your ego, maybe. So if you answer to that feedback with, hey, I did this because this was the gameplay in that direction, or because whatever, you are justifying your work, and there might be some useful information that the person who is giving you feedback doesn't know, and then the other person can say, oh yeah, true, okay, so now with that information, can we maybe do it this way, can we push it in this direction, and a discussion in these terms is helpful and useful, and can make the scene improve, and this is how it should be. But if you are only defending how much time you spend on it, and that other people say that it was okay, it's just a defensive reaction that you shouldn't have.
That makes sense. So that's it, everyone. That's what we have time for, because I only asked for 1 hour on screen at least. I will talk to her a little bit in private afterwards, just to get her thoughts and feedback and stuff. But I want to say thank you so much for joining us, Anna. I really appreciate it. It was really fun, and it was really enjoyable and knowledgeable. We now have a long list of things that I need to also do. Yes.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Just a reminder for everyone, we do have a Discord. The link should be in the description. You can join there. If you join there, I will then tell you how you can join Red Panda's Discord. because I'm also there. And we also have portfolio reviews sometimes. So we would actually want more people to contribute. And, maybe I'll talk to Anna. Maybe we do some joint efforts between the discords, because it is actually quite hard to manage all these different discords. So maybe we should start teaming up a bit. And we also have a lighting showreel community highlights. We try and do it once a month, but I'll be honest, if it's not good enough, I will skip it. There has to be a certain level that we can stand by. But we are happy to have you in on Discord, and hopefully Anna can also join our Discord, because I am already in her Discord.
I already joined.
Yeah, you have. Good. So thank you
Very
so
good.
much. Should we say a goodbye to everyone and have a nice day? And see you guys probably actually in. I think it's already 5-7 days. We have someone new we're interviewing. I'll make the banner, and you guys will find out who that is. So thank you for your time, and let's say thank you to Anna, and see you guys